And welcome back, folks. Apologies for that. Over time, it gets stressful for everyone. It got stressful for our producers, PC and inverter, and all that stuff. And sometimes we got to take a breather. I know I needed a breather after that game. I'll be perfectly honest. That last fight, that was a goats fight. That went on for so long. We had so many ultimates. We had duplicate ultimates, but finally Monarch X5 Knights were able to cap that third checkpoint, and now Lunettes have to somehow mount a similarly strengthed attack.
I think the first step for this attack is to just break it into the first point. That cart rolling is maybe their biggest challenge. Once the cart is rolling in the streets phase, I think they'll have a little bit of an easier time, but getting into the streets phase and past that first choke, that's gonna be the big decider.
I feel like a meme just came to me. You know that I grew up on the streets meme, and it's like the streets, and it's just Kings Row. That's I'll be real, that's actually true for me in my esports career. These are the streets I grew up on, and I think it's true for a lot of our South African teams. But I think that the danger of a full hold, given what we saw on Hanamura, it is a real danger. So here we go. Lunettes now to mount their first attack. Hanzo on board. Love to see it. Instantly a hook to come through. Doesn't connect onto anything. I'm going to get a little bit of backline pressure as Jesse takes out Hanzo. You know what? We're never going to get to see the simple trigonometry. Somehow the Mercy surviving just a little bit longer, but not long enough as Decaf gets taken down. And they're not giving any quarter here. Oh, the hook does not connect through dimensions, but with Maverick down, no shield available. That's going to force Lunettes to have to retreat.
Yeah, I mean, Lunettes are really walking into a wall here with the Zarya Roadhog. I mean, we've seen this this meta in Overwatch 1, closer to the end of Overwatch 1, popularized by the Washington Justice, actually, the Zarya Roadhog. But nobody really knew how strong it was at the start, because Dimensional Hook plus Full Charge Zarya equals to Red Mist.
Well, speaking of Monarch in the red here, they're turning into Mist themselves, as it looks like Lunettes.
Oof.
No, brother. No, not with the recon arrow. That's actually outrageous.
Oh.
The scatter arrow.
Scatter.
Simple trigonometry. We finally got to see it happen. And there you go. Lunettes will cap point, and they will get into the streets.
That is definitely the first big hurdle crossed over, but Blaine is going to do Blaine things, and server admin us. But Sleep with the pick there. Brilliant.
Yeah, trade that back quite nicely. Give over some numbers once again and give a little bit of room to breathe. Some nice little healing here as well. Keep those tanks topped up. Now the timing on that is not great. Oh, but the wombo combo does connect because there's a pulse bomb. 3 ultimates? That's a really big investment.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Overwatch. It's Overwatch 1. You're gonna get your ult in the next fight. Like, we've seen this happen many times. I mean, multiple ults in one fight. It's a little bit disgusting.
All right, payload moving. Monarch taking a moment here to get themselves together. There is, of course, Jesse in the back line being an absolute nuisance, as per. Decaf, no, I was about to say survives by the skin of their teeth, but ultimately taken out. Now Sleep managing to get the Mercy. Can they get the clean up? There you go. The fires from the hip. Shotgun Widowmaker, but ultimately it's still going to be Monarch to win the fight and stop the payload in its tracks.
The problem for Lunettes now is they're walking into the wall of 4 ults. And if Decaf can get that hide and seek res off, they might actually finish B, and then have to mount the entire. Okay, wait. If Stalker will stop feeding, maybe. But yeah, the entire last point is usually the difficult point to aggress. But yeah, if they can survive all of these ults, I think they're in the clear.
Oh, nice little bubble there. That's going to give Zarya so much extra charge, just numbing that pulse bomb. And Jay, again in that back line. A little bit of a mercy pocket just to keep her robust and in the fight. Meanwhile, rest of the team just continuing to decimate. This is looking rough. Sleep ran out of mouse pad. Honestly, real.
Wow. That's a little bit of a oh, don't worry, nobody saw that. But that's a little bit of a hardware issue, you know, kind of
Relatable, I'll be real.
blaming our technology and our equipment. Is that the kind of player we want to be, Sleep?
Ryan charged Baby Diva and missed.
She's skinny, okay? She's hard to hit. It's like
In
trying to pick up a
insinuating.
a piece of rice with chopsticks.
I mean, if you can't do that, you're just bad, I'll be honest.
Oh, okay, then I'm just bad. My fault, my fault.
Monarch, just continue to clean up here, man. All right, 2-person res, and you see, this is why Mercy needed the invulnerability when resing, and people got so upset with that. But there you go, it's Decaf taken off again, and without that Mercy in play, the rest of the House of Cards falls apart. Lunette's not quite as good as building card houses as Monarch.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a skill you have to train for ages and ages, and I don't think Lunettes have been in the dojo long enough.
Step
yeah.
into the dojo.
I forgot about that line.
That's such a good line, man.
It reminds me of the "Step into my parlor," said the spider to the fly.
Yes. Yeah, I prefer the dojo, I'll be real, but I'm a bit of a weep. Blaine trying to go for the trick shot onto the Tracer. It's not working. Pulse Bomb, run away! And somehow Blaine lives. Jesse will continue to be a menace. Oh, nice cleanup there from Scarlet. Beautiful coordination between the Hanzo and the Tracer there. Stalker will continue to just rampage. Takes out the Mercy. Whoopsie. Charges into a wall. What? No, brother. Solo
I
ults
just
the
saw that.
Winston. Bro, solo ults the Winston and still loses.
And still dies. That
Oh,
is... You get what you deserve, honestly. You get what you
honestly.
deserve. There's no way he committed ultimate there on a lone Winston and still doesn't kill the Winston.
Oh,
Unlucky.
there we go. Again, timing a little bit better off this time as the Dragon will collect one. And a headshot onto Jesse means that the Tracer is not allowed to carry on. So Miley gets taken off before a chance to pull off a massive 4-man res. Decaf will get a res of their own, but despite no res for Smiley, the rest of Monarch will rally together. You don't need a brig for that. And they will clean up the rest of this fight.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't deal with Blaine there. Blaine was doing Blaine things. And Lunette's kind of just fell apart there. Unfortunately. This is last fight though, so let's see if maybe they can make it happen. They're committing ultimates, so...
Oh my god, another dragon. That's crazy. Maverick will get the kill onto Jesse. The
IB9, question mark?
No, they're on it. You can see by the number next to the... There you go. Now it was contested. So, but they managed to clean up the contestation, and they do get that point. So the payload continues to roll with only a minute left, however, to cap. We know how crazy these fights can be. High noon, nothing to connect to. A little bit of a zoning ult. All good, all good.
That was definitely a try me kind of ult.
Fight me.
Yeah. But it's looking really interesting because now they're gonna have to push into once again like 5 ultimates, while they have none, and that's just always tough because you have what, 2? Maybe 1 fight if it's gonna be one of those crazy overtime fights again.
No, I think this could be the end of the line. We're seeing a lot of cleanup. Jesse being a menace in their backline again. A beautiful bubble to keep them alive. Lets them get the 3rd kill as well. Great synergy with the Zarya. And that's going to stop things in its tracks with 20 seconds left for Lunettes to push this payload all the way to the end. 1, maybe 2 fight remain.
I won't lie, I think it's just going to be 1 fight and it's going to be 1 long fight because... Oh, never mind.
No, it's not.
Decaf
so
died.
Maybe 2 fights. Somebody's got to touch. If we can touch, then maybe there's another fight. There isn't a time to regroup. 4 seconds left. Somebody, anybody, but there's no one around to do it. And that will be Monarch taking map 3, taking the series, and booking themselves a spot in the grand final.
Yeah, I mean... we saw this coming. Lunettes definitely put up a fight, and it was it was good play from them, despite the circumstances. Right, like you're struggling against players who have been playing together for a long time, know the game mode well, and just like it's an experience diff, unfortunately. But they put up a good fight, and there were definitely some standout points, like the Stormy Hanzo, the Decaf Mercy. It was all there were some standouts.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you want, right? When you're a new team and you're maybe not as experienced. Well, I mean, maybe not necessarily a new team, but like obviously this is a new mode. It's something that they're not necessarily as familiar with. So what you look for in those moments is your kind of shining stars, your standout moments that you can then build upon. And I think that there's a really good foundation here for the Five Nights. So sorry, not the Five Nights, for the Lunettes. The fact that they managed to make it this far speaks volumes in and of itself. So with a little bit of time, we might see some really great things from this team.
Yeah, there are definitely signs of life, definitely signs of the team. They have a very brawl-heavy identity from what I can pick up from this. I mean, obviously, maybe it looks different in Overwatch 2, but from Overwatch 1, they favored the brawl very heavily. And it helps to have an identity as a team. Because then you can work on it, and you can improve, and you can move forward. Yeah.
Yes. All right, so that's going to wrap up our semi-final. We are getting ramped up for the grand final, which of course will be the Five Nights versus the Pink Salamanders. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, grand final time, baby. Don't miss it.
Here we go.
Welcome back, everyone. We just finished up our semi-final, the second semi-final of the ACGL Overwatch Classic Community Cup. Of course, we are running it back to some OG Overwatch 6v6, no roll lock, no holds barred, missing a lot of heroes. Heroes back before their reworks. It's been absolute chaos, but it's been an absolute pleasure. We're now going to jump into our grand final, Monarch 5 Knights versus the Pink Salamanders. I'm Sam, and I'm joined, of course, by Lexodian. How are you feeling about our grand final?
Well, it definitely wasn't the one that I predicted, but I mean, it was kind of one of three, right? You have IB in this, you have 5 Knights, Monarch, you have Pink Salamanders. It had to be some permutation of those two teams. They really are our strongest teams in the community at this moment, really. And yeah, I mean, I'm quite excited, hoping for a 5-map banger, hoping to see some more absolute chaos happening. And yeah, as we take a look at the bracket here, Monarch 5 Knights in the game we just watched, unfortunately, absolutely destroyed Lunettes. And Pink Salamanders also rolling straight through my team, my goats, the Ethereal Ducklings. But yeah, so this grand final is definitely shaping up to be a banger. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's actually interesting to note that most of our games have been pretty one-sided, except for the top half of the bracket in the first round. We had a 3-2 and a 3-1. So a little bit of fight back. And that does kind of beg the question. As we go into our grand final, it is still a first to 3. It's not a first to 5. We're not going crazy with this. So what do you think our scoreline is going to look like?
This is really a coin flip. I think between the two teams, Pink Salamanders is more known for their dive, and dive being the stronger meta in this patch. So we're definitely looking at maybe a Pink Salamanders 3-2.
Okay. But you're predicting a full 5-map series?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is going to be a literally hair's breadth away from either team. This could be a coin flip, honestly.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, you mentioned Monarch, a very strong team in their own right, but of course, we've got some absolute veterans, and that is a nice way of saying old players on the other side. Players like Blur and Tox that have been around for honestly since the dawn of Kalza, just about. So really cool to see them still here and still absolutely thriving. I want to see what they're capable of. Of course, I get to see them play much earlier today. So we'll and perhaps we'll see them a little bit more tested in this matchup. But it all starts with our first map, and as we saw before, it is one of our control maps. It's King of the Hill, and of course, it's gonna be Lijiang. Somebody pick another map, please.
Is anybody surprised? Can we go to Ilios, please? I just want to see Lucio on the well. Thanks.
Yeah. Can we just like veto their veto?
Yeah. Guys only want one thing, and it's disgusting, and it's just Ilios.
Yeah, Ilios with a Widowmaker, a Roadhog, a Lucio. So it's good.
Juicy.
But, yep, it's going to be Lijiang. We're going to have to run that one back. And of course, most of these teams it'll be like the second or third time today that they're playing this map. So, surprisingly, they're not sick of it just yet. But they will be practiced on it. They'll be feeling warm. And presumably, they will be ready for whatever the opponent is going to throw at them.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point, these two higher-rated teams, they could pull out anything. The chefs are chefing, so
the chefs are chefing.
They might cook up something really interesting. We might see more Slambulance. We might see the dive. We might see. We really can't predict what we'll see. They might even pull out the 3 DPS, 2 supports, 1 tank.
Ooh.
That's a throwback.
I'll be real, I have never heard chef used as a verb. That's a new one for me. I'll be perfectly honest with that one. We could still see 3 tanks, 3 supports. It won't be goats, but we could see it. I don't know how effective it'll be, but you still got the Lucio, you still got the D.Va. Those are the big ones, and
Zen as well.
Yeah, Zen, big proponent of that. You know, I don't know if you do that in a grand final. Maybe you do that in your opening games when you've got a little bit of space to work with. But now, of course, all the marbles. And a reminder, we did get 8 teams signed up, which means that there is a 250 Rand prize for the team that wins. So we've even got some skin in the game here for these 2 teams.
Yeah. Looking already at the Pink Salamanders going for the Roadhog DPS vibes. The 3 tanks, 2 supports, 1 DPS, and the never mind, we got baited.
Never look at the composition before the spawn doors drop. Surprisingly, no Mei. A firm favorite on this particular point on Lijiang, but it is what it is. We'll drive straight in, and dive is the order of the day. Interestingly, Reinhardt and Roadhog and Zarya. And unfortunately, again, these beefy tanks are just not holding up to the insane DPS power coming through from Monarch. Target Prior on point once again and just melting through the Salamanders.
I'm thinking also the fact that they only have Mercy for heals is making life so difficult for them because, I mean, the dive is there, it's double bubble, Jesse is doing Jesse things, and the Mercy is down first as well, so that's just such a big hit.
There's so much early chip damage there, and Stalker's turn to pick up the broom here, you know, we take turns, we share the chores in this house. Jesse does some really early chip damage, particularly onto that Mercy. Stalker follows it up, gets some cleanup, the pulse bomb to make the Reinhardt nice and weak. And we continue through with a barrage of damage. And it looks like the 5 Knights here looking good to hold as we've got 3 ultimates online for this next fight.
Yeah, Salamander's also doing a little bit of a comp swap here with the Zarya coming in and the Lucio coming in. So they're kind of doing the thing that they were going to do at the start, but without the cast now.
Well,
we kind of got baited, but not.
Yeah, I mean, they're also doing the thing where they struggle to win a fight, unfortunately. I've been really impressed with 5 Knights. It just feels like they are uncontested so far. Beat drop to come through, that little bit of extra padding. Maybe unnecessary, given that that fight was just about over. But you know what? Safe than sorry, as we tick up to 70-odd%.
Yeah, I think 5 Knights may have heard me when I predicted. And they're trying to prove me wrong. Because this is some stellar, very clean Overwatch coming out from them. It's almost surgical. It's really majestic to watch.
Well, you did predict a full 5-map series. That could be the case. As now the Graviton Surge comes through, damage straight in, the Pulse Bomb on top. And that will be Pink Salamanders not able to convert even a single tick of percentage. And Monarch will take the first point on Lijiang.
Unfortunately, Nyan touched way too early there. Well, not way too early, but too early. I believe overtime only ticks off after the last 5%. And yeah, Nyan touched literally 1% too early. So yeah, I mean it's quite hard when Monarch 5 Knights is doing this thing where they are ruining the only support that you're running, and it makes it so hard to stay alive, because you need to aggress into the Zarya, you need to aggress into their Mercy, but Jesse on the flank, my guy is literally the sensei of the broom. He is cleaning up the entire time. Bro owns the dojo at this point.
Well, speaking of the dojo, that's more or less where we're at now. Looks a bit like a dojo. But I digress. We dive straight in as Monarch lose to... Oh, Wallace must have either got booped or made a little bit of an oopsie with the wall ride. But he is already taken out here. And Pink Salamanders, not a team to be one-upped. Yes, they did lose that first point. They're not going to allow that to happen again. It's now the point unlocks, and they will tick that up to start building up percentage, and Monarch regroup.
That was so almost, or Blur would have died there. 50 HP and a dream, getting out there by the skin of his teeth. Definitely a Winston player knowing Winston player things.
Yeah, Bubble came in clutch. Oh, beautifully timed blink there. Otherwise, that would have been one dead Tracer. And you see, the Tracer, it's been identified as a problem. So our Casses are set to deal with that as much as possible. And now Jesse just not finding any of the value that they found earlier on. Nyan very much on top of that. The stun, the right click, the headshots, just connecting beautifully. And Pink Salamanders continue to tick up.
They may have broken Jesse's broom, but I think he will find a new one. I just have faith in Jesse. I mean, he's being shut down so hard by this Cassidy on all of the flanks, and Nyan is just so aware of how big a problem Jesse was, and that is a thing of the higher rated teams, is they'll notice the problem and then start adapting to it. Where I think with the previous game, we just kind of saw how, you know, the adaptability isn't quite there because you don't know the mode that well.
Well, speaking of adaptability, I mean, Monarch, they've managed to kind of bring things back into their control. Salamander's still kind of trickling in onto the point here, but they do actually manage to clean it up, and finally, they get a point. They start to tick up that percentage. They're not out of the woodwork just yet, but they're in the game.
I think what'll make it easier as well is Smiley has res here. So Smiley just doesn't die. This point stays ticking. They'll at least get to 50%, I think.
The Wallace attempted boop there, unfortunately, doesn't quite find the value that they would have wanted. Stalker takes out Tox. That's massive. That's so much healing offline here. As Monarch continue the Graviton Surge, making them easy pickings, and Zarya, you know, bit of a Christmas tree at the moment, and beams straight through the entirety of the Salamanders.
Yeah, I mean, this fight was very clean. Only really committed the grab and the beat. Did we have pulse that fight? I'm not too sure. I didn't really see it, but the grab and the beat was a really solid combo.
Oh, the bubble! No, bro. Blaine gets away with murder with some of these high noons. It's absolutely outrageous. They just allow him to stand there, wait for the bubble. No, Tox!
Mercy, please.
Somehow still alive. Nope, not still alive. Absolutely taken down. But Pink Salamander's still in this fight, not willing to give up just yet. However, Blur left on an island, unable to sustain any longer. Bubbles here to try to keep these Winstons alive, but finally, Stalker will go down as well. It's very, very even kilter here. They're trying to build up a little bit of space on the point here, but unfortunately, they will get forced off. They'll have to regroup again.
Yeah, I think Pink Salamanders are having a little bit of trouble now aggressing, because, I mean, we can see the mirror here, but it's so hard to aggress from the other angle because the Lucio isn't as... Oh, that's a massive res.
Three-man race. This is the very last fight. Salamanders have to stay alive in this, but they have managed to maintain some of that control. The Primal Rage to come through to buy a little bit of time. They don't want to lose control of this point. They know that if they lose the control here, then we're back in one-fight territory. Jesse is back. He's picked up the broom, and he's cleaning it up. But Stalker jumps off the map. Holy, they've given the control back over to Salamanders.
Honestly, if Jesse gets fluffy there, it might look like a different fight. Also, they picked off Smiley so early in that other fight, just before it, and Smiley wasn't able to res. So yeah, Tox's res just comes off as much bigger in that sense.
Nice.
Also, later beat from Monarch.
Yes! Finally, they deal with the high noon. Blaine not given an opportunity to wait for the shields to go down. Booped straight off the map. And now Pink Salamanders take control. They've given over a little bit of presence on this point, but they continue to fight it back. They trade out, but Salamanders winning this fight. The overtime ticks down. No one touches. And Salamanders at the last second, they win out the map and take us to a third on Lijiang.
Salamander's definitely adapting so well in that fight, not letting Jesse just run around and do his thing. Blaine also not allowed to just sit and click heads. And the Zarya felt dealt with, and Smiley wasn't just getting reses off for free, right? I don't know if she even got to res in that last fight, because every time she would die so early. And it's just really good target priority from Pink Salamanders. Otherwise, that res comes out, the fight looks different. Like, that was a 99 to 99. That was another game of building a card house, and unfortunately, Monarch X5 Knights, their card house was a little bit flimsy.
We've got another almost classic dive from the Salamanders. The Zarya instead of the Diva and the Mercy instead of the Zenyatta. But there's still a lot that can be done with this. Unless, however, Blaine just does Blaine things. That's going to be the first kill, taking out Trizzle. And we're going to follow that up with a kill onto Tox as well. So even if Blaine does go down here, there is no way Blaine just shotgun widowed into a Winston and won the fight. Yes, it was cleanup, but that's outrageous. That first fight going pretty handedly in favor of Monarch, and now they will cap the point.
Yeah, if Pink Salamanders don't start contesting Blaine like ASAP no Rocky, he is going to take over this lobby. He is going to absolutely dismantle the Salamanders team because he's got so much space to sit back. They have to come to him. And it's just free money.
And unfortunately, you have to decide, do you commit your Winston solely to that Widowmaker, or do you keep the Winston for what he was designed for? And that's why the classic dive with the Diva is so strong, for that extra little bit of protection for your Winston. However, doesn't look like Monarch need that, really. I suppose they're not fighting against the Widowmaker, but they just continue to hold space. Already over the 30% mark here, and oh man, ready for this grab. This is going to be nasty. Jumps straight over the top of head, gets spotted out, hasn't been killed just yet. The grab to come through doesn't quite connect. The pulse bomb through the shield will give a ton of chip damage, and then it's just clean up once again. The Salamanders, they took control of the point. Little bit of a ninja back cap there, but how much longer can they maintain that control? Already Monarch back onto the point, taking names, and regaining control.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting blade from Trizzle. I think that might have been that hero play Genji 1v6 vibe, but it's a tough time to blade it. You know, like who's getting bladed? The Tracer's too slippery, the Mercy's too slippery, the Lucio's too slippery. Who's your target?
We had a counter Graviton Surge there from Monarch to best the... Not even counter, bro. It's to say, how is the Zarya building up grab so quickly and just getting full value from it as well? Like, the Salamanders don't even have a chance to get to the site.
Yeah, they're really struggling with this choke. They're absolutely being held in a chokehold here, pun intended. And the Widow is just not getting contested, so there's constant fear that this Widow is just going to take your head off. But as we say that, there's a lot of red in the kill feed.
Hide and seek Mercy, but the bodies are too far away, so the possibility to get a nice big juicy res. That being said, however, Salamanders, they were the ones that won out, so you don't want to waste that res unnecessarily. And for Monarch, they're not too stressed out, right? They're on 94%. They know they just need to win one more fight. One nice early pick off here. The pulse bomb onto Fluffy, but now Tox will use that ultimate. Unfortunately, instantly taken out. Stalker has found his way in onto the side. Primal Rage out to create a bit of space. Jesse has taken out Fluffy. Trizzle dueling Wallace in the back line. Finally, he'll get a kill here, but taken out by Smiley. I was about to say he could take out both supports here, but not going to be allowed to. Smiley now with a big res after taking down Nian means that there's still potential here. They should be able to turn it back over, but the site, or the point remains contested. Pulse bomb doesn't connect, but Stalker will clean it up. And now Salamanders, they have to trickle, they have to touch, they have to just put bodies on this point, and every time a body touches the point, it gets taken out. Tracer blinks out, but he's back in onto the side instantly, getting chased down by Jesse, but not finding the value. Finally, Jesse will get that kill. The point will flip, and Monarch will take the first map.
That was unbelievable. I mean, the Monarch, they just know what their win conditions are. They're good at isolating the right people, and also we have Smiley just glocking it out on Mercy. We love seeing that.
Yeah, these Mercy raises really have come clutch in quite a few of these situations. But, you know, I props to Monarch. They managed to take that first map. And to be fair, the very, very first map on Lijiang, not even close. Second map down to the wire. And Salamanders skirt through by the skin of their teeth. And on the third map, again, it's a little bit closer. but we see Monarch really stake their claim. They feel so comfortable, so confident on this dive comp. Honestly, it feels like this could be their heyday, right? You know, reliving some of the heroes of Overwatch 1. But it is just the first map. There are plenty of opportunities for the Salamanders to turn it back around.
I think what they need to realize, the Salamanders now, they need to realize that we have the Zarya, we have the Widow, we have the Mercy that are the really, really big problems, and then also Jesse, if you let him do his own thing. But if you take them to a map where they can't run some of those parts, they'll struggle, I think, because this has definitely become their identity. And if you can kind of unseat them from this throne, maybe you'll have a better shot at taking the map. But you're already down one, so kind of depending on map pick is not really the strat, but it's gonna help.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of, we're going to be heading to Volskaya this time. I love Volskaya. It can be a tricky map to navigate, but I think that there's a lot that you can do on this map. We could even see a little bit of that cheese. Symmetra was often a favor on Volskaya, so you know what? I'm living for the Symmetra pick. We got to see it for all of 5 minutes in the previous game, and I just... You know, I want to see the BM picks. I want to see some shenanigans. We saw a bit of Bastion earlier. That was always interesting to behold. So maybe, you know what? Bastion, Torpio, and Symmetra. Let's do it. You know, just one map, just for me.
Is it just me, or does it smell like cheese in here? If we get that, it would be a little scary. I won't lie. Getting to see all of that, and there's probably going to be a lot of desks being hit or heads being butted against a wall, having to run into that combo. Because let me be real, if I had to go up against that, my monitor would be scared.
I mean, bearing in mind, like, attacking on Volskaya can be quite difficult because this choke point is one of the kind of more deadly ones, it feels like, right? There are a lot of choke points, particularly for these assault map types, just to get yourself... You have to get through it when you're on that attack. But it feels like this one in particular can be very, very difficult to navigate as the attackers because there's so much space, or there's so much like cover for your defenders. So they can play really up close and personal and make your life difficult. Once you get through that choke, however, attackers have a much better time because then everything opens up. You've got a lot more possibility for flanks. You've got a lot more possibility to get into their backline. So for the Salamanders here, holding this choke becomes very important.
Yeah, for sure. Once they break through and get onto the point, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult to hold on to it. Since it seems like the Salamanders want to play close with this Roadhog Zarya. But
holy.
Yeah, oh, well, Jesse again, doing Jesse things.
I mean, it looked to me like the Lucio was going to be the first to go down there, but in fact, it's Jesse who gets into the backline, takes down that Widowmaker up on high. We are going to see some return fire, however, as the Salamanders look to keep themselves alive a little bit longer. The high charge Zarya absolutely taking down their own opponents, but finally, we already have a Graviton Surge. It's been like 4 seconds, bro. A high charge Zarya is a terrifying prospect, and it will propel Monarch to a first point capture.
This is an insane time. Like, how long has this map been? How long have we been sitting here? We already have Grav. We've already had sights. We've already had Pulse Bomb. What? It just... The ult charge in Overwatch 1 was so broken, and I'm so happy we got that fixed.
Well, you also can't underestimate the skill of, good util management, cooldown management. It's a very, very important part of it. But now Trizzle holding down the long sideline, going to get some good early damage in, but the cleanup... Well, the cleanup will come onto Blur, and that's going to give them a lot of room to work with here. Monarch moving their way in towards the site. Tox, nice little res there, brings his teammates back into the fray, and they will do numbers. But Smiley with a res of their own, they get taken out in the interim, but that allows the Graviton Surge to come through the beat to try to protect, keep them alive a little bit longer. Salamander's now winning out this fight by an absolute hair's breadth, but they will hold on and force Monarch back.
Unfortunately, that was a case of later beat wins. Fluffy just ever so slightly pulling the trigger on that beat a little bit later, and, well, yeah. Monarch was cooked there. They only get their ults online now, and Smiley also dying there was a tough knock for them. But this is for sure 2 CPable, so we'll see what happens.
Right, sights are out. Oh, Salamander's getting a little bit aggressive here, going in for the Primal Rage just to try to bully this Widowmaker as much as possible. You're unlikely to get the kill with the Primal, but you are creating a lot of space. He is able to retreat to the rest of the team as well, and that just stalls out that time massively and allows that to tick down, makes things a little bit harder for Monarch. Given how quickly they took that first point, the Salamanders need to take every opportunity that they can get. So for now, they give themselves a moment to breathe.
Yeah, something we can notice with some of the previous maps is that the fights sometimes go so quickly that you kind of give the other team more opportunities to get fights in. But I feel like Pink Salamanders have a really good fight economy where they take fights, it doesn't go by too quickly, and you kind of run the clock. Because, I mean, Five Nights took the first point so quickly, and they have had so much time, and now we're down to like 3 minutes. So it's really good pace from Salamanders.
All right, how much longer can they hold on? 3 ultimates online here, so a lot to potentially work with in this next fight, but Monarch are fencing. They've got Pulse Bomb ready to come online to make it 4. They're taking this high ground push here, and instantly Graviton Surge to come through. Bubbles out just to try to get some protection. They try to combo it with the Pulse Bomb, but it doesn't quite connect. Jesse's counter Pulse Bomb will take out Toxin Socks, and we continue to trading ultimates, trading kills, trying to keep these Winstons alive just that little bit longer. But once again, it's Pink Salamanders who come out on top of the ult economy. Monarch invests so much into that fight, but it's still the Salamanders who continue to hold that control.
Yeah, I mean, the spawn advantage is also something you need to consider. I mean, the defenders have that spawn, a little bit faster spawn, and they don't have to run as far. So if somebody dies, it's almost like a ticking time bomb before they come back, before, you know, all of your effort blows up in your face, because you can invest as much as you want, but they'll come back. So it has to be a really clean, quick, decisive fight, and that's just something that you lack a lot of in Overwatch 1.
Except that now it looks like Monarch have made it decisive. It's taken a while, but they've managed to clean through this point. The Death Blossom came through, covered or followed up by a nice little Pulse Bomb there. Now these spawns have to do absolute work. Primal Rage out from Blur. He's trying to stall out this point as much as possible. Pulls out the Graviton Surge, but he's not in it, so that gets wasted. That's a huge boon for the Salamanders, but how much more can they get done? The lit up Zarya continues to melt through the enemy, but Nyan
massive
is back on
res.
point. 2-person res to keep Monarch alive in this fight a little bit longer. The health pools are ticking away. Tox doesn't have res, and that means that it will be Monarch getting that second point. 1:38 left on the clock. Pink Salamanders run down the clock, but not enough.
That was a very good hold from Salamanders, given the absolute mountain they had to climb after that insane first point cap. But that was some smart body blocking from the Zarya, keeping the soldier off of the point to touch. Because, yeah, if this runs out and you have to full hold, like, point A, I don't even know how you do that on this map.
I mean, it's certainly possible, but it's incredibly difficult. Like I said, right, you've got to either have very, very strong choke control, or you're getting a little bit cheesy with it, kind of on the point itself, right? You're doing things like using Symmetra TPs and a Bastion. You know, you're getting really, really cheeky to try to full hold this. So this is going to be a tough ask. But given how Monarch has been performing so, you know, throughout the games today, I think that there's certainly a possibility for it. They weren't able to do it a little bit earlier on King's Row, but they did do it on Hanamura. So it's a tough one to call. But I think for Pink Salamanders being such a strong team, they're not going to let that one happen.
What's interesting is the Monarch Five Nights Torb that they kind of have this identity with. So instead of running the Lucio, they run the Torbjorn, and they've done it consistently now, every time on defense.
Torb is a support.
Oh, for sure, 100%. He gives armor packs.
Yeah, 100%. Easy clap.
Yeah, real quick.
All right, here we go. We're already in it to win it here. Blur getting in fast and aggressive. Immediately takes out Zarya. No charge available. Blur continues to take out the counterpart in Stalker. Finally, Trigger will get taken out, so that's going to give a little bit of room to breathe. Jesse and Blaine, the DPS duo for Monarch, just such a menace to deal with, and they will continue this reign of terror. All of Blur's work for naught as now we see a Cass on the flank, takes out the Mercy. Blaine runs away, classic, leaves the Mercy to die. But you know what? If he can take down this Cass, and yes, he can, that, it's worth, I guess.
That definitely was our star player, player of the match, the Turret, coming in clutch there. 7th player. But yeah, so Blaine and Jesse are definitely a really big problem, and you can't leave them alone like Pink Salamanders have been doing. They need to pressure them a little bit better if they want to cap this point. Because if you leave them to just do what they want, they will remove your head.
I mean, realistically, right, you need the Cass to deal with Jesse, and you need and they've got the Cass, and you need the Winston to deal with the Widowmaker. They have all the tools in the toolbox, but unfortunately for them, they're just not being allowed to take the space they need to make it happen. Now, Molten Core will deny even more space, as Monarch will continue to hold. The kill feed started to light up red there, but the Molten Core meant that no one was allowed to touch the point. My point, get off. And they hold fast.
Yeah, it's so tough running into this Torbjorn Widow setup because you essentially have 2 turrets that do a lot. And then you still have to watch your back with the Tracer and potentially even the Winston that can get in there. The Winston Tracer dive is just too potent, and your supports are going to be crying.
Oh, Trizzle shut down in the prime of his life. Jesse will take him out and not allow that High Noon to get any sort of value. Now, Primal Rage once again. Stalker actually manages to get a kill with that Rage, slamming the Zarya into the wall. The Primal Rage ends. Blur manages to take Blaine off the board. That's what we wanted to see. But how much more can they get done as Tox goes in for a res? A nice little 2-piece there. Will get taken out for his troubles. That does seem to be the call of the day. But can they keep this rolling just that little bit longer? Somehow, Pink Salamander's still in this fight as Nine will take out Jesse. That takes that pesky Tracer off the board. Blur still alive, fighting it out here with the Zarya in the corner. And now some suppressive fire from the Pharah should allow them to cap this first point.
The Pharah was definitely a good pick here because it was a quick surprise switch. But I don't know how viable it is running into somebody like Blaine or Jesse. Well, not even Blaine who took them out. It was the Zarya. But
Holy.
yeah, I don't know if we keep seeing this
continuing to fight this. This is crazy. Stalker stalls for so long, manages to allow the rest of his team to come back, but the Graviton Surge actually manages to kill the Torb just by itself. And as much as that time was bought just to tick away a little bit more of the clock, unfortunately, they do still lose the point. Jesse and Blaine get staggered out a little bit. Yeah, that's going to give a lot of time for the Salamanders in a pretty dive-esque comp to make their way over towards this next site. They do have 3 ultimates online here, so they can keep this quick and decisive. Instantly Blur in it to win it. Up onto the high ground. Going to try to focus down that Mercy as heavily as possible. The Zarya turns away. Zarya's like, cool, take my Mercy. I don't need her anyway. And Blur just chases her down. Absolute BM. And now Blur turns on the Zarya as well. Your bubble means nothing. It's going to have to be the Graviton Surge to keep the Zarya alive. And finally, it will come through. I'm going to be real, man. These teams do not respect their own Mercies. It's kind of rough out here.
It's pretty tough, especially when Mercy is such a huge cog in the wheel. The Mercies, they need to stay alive because 1, they're your main source of healing, and 2, if that res comes off, the fight is just you can forget about winning it.
I'll be real, man. As a Mercy who was often thrown under the bus, I feel that pain. I feel it. I feel it deep in my soul. But we move. Oh, what a shot. Beautiful. I was like through the Winston. That was right in Blaine's face. But Monarch continued to hold strong. Nice little bit of a cleanup shot onto Fluffy there. And that means that this fight is over.
Yeah, I mean, Monarch now also doing the thing that Pink Salamanders did, pacing their fights really well and just making sure that they don't win it too fast. They're definitely pacing it in such a way that they that they drain the clock, but Nyan has something else to say about that.
Alright, well, 9 are going to be good for 1, but don't know how much longer they're going to be for this world. Barrage gets 1, followed up with another onto the Zarya. That's both tanks offline. This is the perfect moment to push another shot onto Jesse. They have to get onto the site now. Torb is unbelievably low, and Trizzle knows it. They're going to push for it. Tox is going to res Blur, so that's going to give them that little bit more staying power. Now, Torbjorn getting overloaded there, trying to just keep things going a little bit longer. Beautiful beat right in the nick of time, but the res to come through to keep the rest of Monarch alive. The pulse bomb, the graviton surge, everything but the kitchen sink, but they hold on.
Also note how fast the Mercy is getting her ultimate again. So we're looking at potentially another overtime banger here. If Smiley gets her res, this fight could go on for about the entire time bank left, and it will probably come down to another House of Cards kind of fight.
Ooh, Blur, he smells blood in the water, man. He wants to take Jesse out, but eventually gonna pull back. It's the right call to make, as now Stalker gets so deep in it, bro. 2 kills for him onto the Widow and to the Zen. Can he make it a third as he chases down the Mercy? Yes, he can. Finally gets taken down, but again, it was all a stall tactic. It was all to get them to have to wait for the respawns. Yes, Monarch have to respawn themselves, but they're going to respawn in beautiful position, and that burns it down. Only 13 seconds left now for somehow Salamanders need to make a play, and Blaine continues to be a problem. Wallace to follow it up with some beautiful Torbjorn play there. That's 2 players offline already. Monarch in a difficult spot, or rather, Salamander's in a difficult spot. The Graviton Surge to come through, the Pulse Bomb in. These are always timed so well together. Finally, we start to see a little bit of space being taken, but Smiley with another beautiful 2K will keep Monarch alive and stamp Salamander's dreams into the ground. No one left to touch, as the Graviton Surge will hold on to Blur, and that will be Monarch. Not quite as one-sided as they would have hoped, but they do manage to take it home.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a res diff there at the end. I mean, Salamanders were making such good progress. Such good progress. And then Mercy just presses Q. And there's everything you did, gone. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Try again.
Respect the Mercy Q. Okay?
Hey, look.
It takes a lot of skill to be able to hide for an extended period of time, okay? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm not dissing the Mercy. I am respecting the Mercy. The Mercy is here to kind of turn the fight, because Mercy dies, that res doesn't come off, it looks like a different game. I think then we go into overtime, and I might have to go grab dinner, because Volskaya 15-point games.
You know, 2CP, the eternal draw map, but ultimately it is Monarch that take that, and that's gonna be Monarch going 2-0 in the series. For anyone that just, wasn't paying attention, that's kind of hectic. I mean, as someone who is not as familiar with the Overwatch scene anymore, I took your word for it. I thought that we had a clear favorite, but it seems like the Salamanders are crumbling under the power and the pressure of the Monarch 5 Knights.
Yeah, so typically, right, we see Salamanders play the dive. That's what they're known for in Overwatch 2. And I just thought, surely it translates. But clearly, I am very wrong. And Five Nights are 100%, maybe even 110% eager to prove me wrong. I may have cast or cursed pink Salamanders with that prediction.
I mean, they're going to come for you. I hope you know that.
I am locking my doors. I'm sleeping with a bat next to my bed.
I mean, I was going to go with lock your DMs, but sure.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I play Lucio in Plat. I have Mental of Steel.
Okay, that's fair. All right, we're getting ready to head on over to Scrim's Row, of course. A little disappointed, but it is what it is. And it's Last Chance Saloon for the Salamanders to keep themselves alive in this series. We were predicting a full 5 mapper. But we saw what Monarch are capable on this map. Just about an hour ago in their semi-final, they looked unstoppable for so much of that match. And now they look to do it again. And for the Salamanders, yes, they came through their bracket pretty one-sidedly, but they may have met their match here. We're going to need to see some absolute perfection. They're going to be starting off here attacking, it looks like. So cap that point as quickly as possible, roll it on through, give yourself some space to work with.
Yeah, Pink Salamanders have a mountain to climb. First of all, they gotta bring out the brooms, because, yeah, but it's one map at a time. They have to just win this map first. I think the same win condition applies. I mean, get it past the first choke. And then you'll probably roll on to the last point, and then last point is your next mountain. But it's going to be so tough into this Five Nights Monarch team, because how do you dismantle that first sightline? Bland is just going to sit there for free, and Jesse is going to pick at you while you worry about Bland.
Well, Monarch Five Nights playing this very well, avoiding that Widow as much as possible, playing around the cover. That's going to have to force them to move in the meantime. We've got Jesse being an absolute nuisance and not giving Nyan the opportunity to find a sightline to click ahead. But Pink Salamanders have made their way in towards this point. So they've made it through that choke. It's been given up just about for free. Stalker feeds a little bit, gets into their back line, but he creates an opening as Monarch now will take down, slowly and systematically dismantling the Pink Salamanders and forcing them to have to regroup.
This whole, like, split view kind of thing of Jesse playing the high ground, Blaine playing all the way at the back, and then them still having to deal with the front line is so hard to juggle. Who do you go for? You have 3 problems all at the same time, and you definitely can't deal with all 3 at the same time. So it's just tough. Like, what is the solution? How do you answer this absolute puzzle of a question?
Unfortunately, yeah, they're fighting a battle on about 3 different fronts. And it's so hard to push through, right? And to be fair, the Salamanders are doing the right things. They're flanking, they're getting annoying, they're getting into the backlines a little bit. I like the Neon swap onto the Cass. I think that this is going to be great for trying to help deal with Jesse, but let's face it, on previous maps, it hasn't gotten the value that they would have wanted. The Graviton Surge straight into the choke. Nice beat to keep them alive through that Pulse Bomb, but it doesn't matter because the chip damage continues to rain through. And, I mean, it almost looks like a wasted beat at that point. It's devastating for the Salamanders.
Yeah, no, Fluffy really had a great beat there, but unfortunately the play around it was there. The counterplay was there, waited it out, did the damage. I mean, I think there was a Pulse Bomb involved in there as well, and it just, yeah, it just did what it needed to do, and the cleanup was there.
The solo grab. Surely not, brother, as Blur gets the kill onto Blaine. Now we've got some trades, but, oh, it's Smiley to get the res up, and yes, Smiley will eventually get taken down, but Stalker gets caught in their back line, and the Salamanders finally have some room to breathe. The Pulse Bomb will take down Trizzle, but it's not going to be to much effect, as now the Salamanders will roll through onto this first point, and they should be able to cap.
Yeah, that's definitely exactly what they needed. So now they take this first point, and they're going to have to deal with Blaine on this first choke. And if they can't, they're going to be stuck here for a little while, because once those tanks set up on that choke, you're going to have such a difficult time. And that's just a Blaine moment.
Nice little charged up headshot there. We love to see that. And, oh, Tox. Careful there, brother. You're going to find yourself in some serious danger. And again, Jesse, just an absolute nuisance. The whole hog to come through. That's quite an investment, but it does pay off. Continues to build up some of that ult charge as Tox will go ahead and get a 3-person res. Smiley to try to even it out with a 2-person res of his own, but he's instantly taken out, which means that there's no sustain available for the Five Nights. And that means that Salamanders will continue to roll this payload through.
All right, so Salamanders have done what they needed to do on this first mountain, and I would say they've scaled the summit. But there's another one coming, right? We have to finish this the streets phase, and then we go on to C. And C is so difficult to aggress with those really long sight lines, and Blaine just allowed to sit all the way at the back and just pick at them. So they're really going to have to get creative with the way that they enter, the way that they aggress, and just be careful of the Widow sight lines.
Well, we are pushing this payload as far as humanly possible, getting a little bit aggressive as well, trying to deny any sort of a recontest. Blur gets to really low HP, pops that Primal Rage, and continues to create that space. Backed up by Trigger, this tank line duo is putting in work. Unfortunately, little Zarya get caught out there. Not going to be long for this world. Nyan steals the kill. You hate to see it, but that should be the payload capping this first point.
Interesting that Blaine switches off of the Widow on this last point, where the sightlines are quite favorable. But the cast definitely is not a bad shout. Always a consistent pick, consistent damage. Good flank control. Not that there's much flank potential on the Salamander's side, but we always like a little bit more consistency. And also the Reinhardt switch.
That grab was everything. But oh my god,
days!
It's play of the game. Tox,
that's play.
Beautifully done there in the thick of the grabs and the earth shatters. A massive 5-man res to keep the Salamander. Smiley with a 4K res of his own. Just fights back. It's not quite as big, but it's big enough, and it gives Monarch the space that they need to keep fighting this back. Salamanders, Tox did so much, and Smiley says, no you. Uno reverse card.
That was absolutely disgusting. Somebody clip that. Overwatch 1 needs to be...
Yeah,
this is why we lost Mercy Mass Res. This is why. That was insane. Like, we were so sure that when Tox got that 5-man res that he had saved the fight, and that was it. And then Smiley, hiding, seeking, doing the things, being just... I don't have words. English is hard already, and then you do this.
So much of it comes down to which Mercy uses their res first. If you're the Mercy that uses their res first, you lose. So it does put you in a really, really difficult position. But now we re-engage. Time ticking away. 1.5 minutes left. Blur caught out and unfortunately cannot jump to safety. High Noon does a ton of damage but doesn't quite get the cleanup. Tox with yet another res, but this time around he will get taken out. And now the High Noon gets the result. Smiley with the Uno reverse card. Once again, Monarch winning out the res battles, but Nyan continues to be a problem. Graviton Surge to come through, and they're just gonna pummel damage into that. But Salamanders hold fast, hold strong, keep that payload moving. Nyan, he's an issue. They've got to get rid of him. They've got to take him out because this payload is showing no signs of stopping.
Yeah, and interesting Jesse now on the Widowmaker instead of the Tracer, where Nyan is now proving to be a problem. The Tracer's struggling to get back in, and now we're just going to swap out one problem for another. So Tracer is no longer the issue. Let's make Widow a problem. And I think it's a good adaptation, but not if the ults are going to be pressed like that.
2 tank ultimates to get that value. Smiley booped off the cart, doesn't have a chance to do anything, taken out entirely. No res available this time around, and with 25 seconds left on the clock, Salamanders will complete the run. Phew, a little close for comfort there.
Wow, that was that definitely happened. We witnessed that in real time, I won't lie. Wow, out of breath. Kind of crazy. The Mercy's doing their thing, going crazy, and Five Nights having to kind of switch on the back foot, trying to figure out what are we going to do, how are we going to solve this, and Nyan just proving to be a problem. Just saying, no, my turn to be a pain. So now we need to see if Monarch can do that thing where they cap really quickly. Because if they cap quickly, they'll have so much time on C. Because, I mean, Streets phase in Overwatch 1 isn't really a factor. We don't really get to see many fights on there. That it just goes too fast. So if they cap fast first point, there will be so much time left on C to bash your head against the wall, try and figure out something, because usually the defense clumps up on that point, and it gets kind of difficult to put your stamp on that last point. But yeah, we will definitely have to see, because it all depends on how fast they cap this first point.
All right, well, we are going for once again, a dive-esque composition. Got the Widowmaker on board and the Zarya. D.Va very much not favored, but I suppose if you're playing against the Zarya, you know that you get hard countered, so why risk it? Blur getting that first kill onto Smiley. Blur looking for some revenge here, getting both of those supports offline very, very quickly, but it begs the question, what were the supports doing there? Tracer is in their back line. I don't know if they realize it. Now Jesse will make their presence known. Pinged out. A little bit of spam through there just to try to stop him from peeking. But Monarch have to reset.
The aggression coming out from Monarch here, and hook blocked. So that's definitely going to be a little bit of a problem for Trizzle, because now what is he going to do? And yeah, Pink Salamander's kind of having to back up here, because what... Actually, never mind. You know what? Caster cursed it again.
Yeah, you kind of did. But Monarch now pushing in on towards the point, as Salamanders will back away, will find their way out. The res to come through, but of course, Tox taken out in the middle of the red. Such is Mercy's life, unfortunately. But Salamanders now trying to fight back, and despite that res, again, they are going to have to pull back. Oh, no! No, Smiley ruins everything again, man. Smiley, the bane of the Salamander's existence. The tanks manage to get 2 kills, and Smiley says, no, you don't. Brings them back up, and Monarch fight back into control here. And again, force Salamanders into an uncomfortable position, force them back towards their spawns. Not much more can be said. And it's a hold again, as Monarch just push into their spawn just about.
Yeah, Smiley on the Mercy, doing Mercy things. It's such a roller coaster of emotions. You think you're winning the fight, and you're like, yeah, we're good. Boom, Mercy, and then instant depression, because you put in so much work, and Mercy comes and does the thing, and you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? What am I supposed to do?
Oh, so many ultimates to come out of that one. Earth Shatter, the Graviton Surge, the Beat, the High Noon. They just threw everything but the kitchen sink into it, and Tox just goes, res, heroes never die. Tox dies, but he keeps his team alive. And Smiley, again, with the Uno reverse card, 2 for 2. And that means that Monarch now heavily favored in this fight. They figured it out. They've cracked the code. Make sure that you res second. Salamanders pushing that Q just that little bit too soon, so often.
I think Smiley is just a little bit better at Uno than Tox is, unfortunately.
I'm terrible at Uno, man.
Uno is so tough. How do you play that game? Anywho, it's looking like a cap here, unless they can touch. But the Grav, surely that seals their fate. There's no way Tox gets res up in this fight.
Oh, brother. After that Grav to continue staying alive and rolling through the High Noon to back it up. That's rough, man. When you invest that ultimate and you cannot find any value off the back of it. Monarch looking to cap this with time to spare. So Salamanders, this is kind of last chance saloon for them. This hold has to be exceptional.
What's a problem is that Stalker has Shatter and Jesse has Pulse.
Oh no, there's no way, bro.
Is the problem.
And
but okay.
Live. Smiley's dead, so there's no counter res here, so this is an opportunity. However, Stalker and Jesse still getting so much value, despite the fact that they've taken down Smiley. They're not quite able to win it out. Now, however, they're starting to get those kills. The ultimates are being pulled out. Stalker gets taken down. No tank alive. Nyan will push, and that will stall out the cart at lost. But Smiley still has that res on board. Tox now building up to a res himself. Will he be able to hold on to it long enough to reset the next fight?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Smiley would probably not want to use her ult here, but it's looking like she might have to. If she can stay alive, there it is.
There's the res, but it comes to naught. 2 players brought back into this, but the fight was basically lost at that point. And that's great news for the Salamanders because it means that they don't have a res online for the next fight, which means Tox can safely invest that res without too much concern.
You do need to remember that res probably charges up in one fight. So, Tox is in the clear, but I don't think for too long.
Zarya from the top ropes with the Graviton Surge, and it just cleans up the entirety of Monarch. That was nasty,
a watch your
bro.
Jet moment.
Bro, that
they
was a
came out with the
Dafran
table. That was an iconic play, I must say.
I mean, it really was, bro. I'm so glad people remember that.
Just the Atlanta Rain Zarya play in my memory forever.
Honestly.
But yeah, so Smiley, well, like I said, pretty much at res here. So Tox still holding on to that. Smiley getting the res again.
Bro.
Tox might actually res this.
No ways. Blaine just pushes straight through the team. Out of my way. Let me use my high noon. Gets 2. Tox with the res. Finally forced to invest it. Manages to live. Still alive in this. So can try to keep the team alive. However, a lot of damage is coming through. But thanks to the Pocket Mercy, Trizzle continues to be a menace. Now the Reaper has to back out. And again, Salamanders give themselves another moment. Graviton Surge is going to be up very, very shortly. But Trigger is going to have to back away if he wants to make sure that he keeps that online. Now, with a high noon to come through again from Blaine. They're chasing down Blur. They take him out, and that is bad news bears for the Pink Salamanders. Not having a tank online is a problem. Jesse has found the cast. He's going to be forced to Wraith Wolf away. They now know that that utility is not online. The Death Blossom
absolutely
is massive. 3 kills with the Death Blossom, and the follow-up with the shotgun onto Trizzle. Stalker rezzed up, and the Salamanders cannot hold for as long as they would have wanted. Monarch have almost a full minute. In fact, yeah, a full minute extra time for that second go-around.
If they had capped it just a smidge faster, perhaps, you know, we're looking at a 2 minutes versus 1 minute kind of vibe. And that 1 minute is essentially a fight in this game. So we're looking at either 1 or 2 fights from Salamanders, 2 or 3 fights from Monarch. If they don't cap within that, it really comes down to the hair here, to the wire.
Gonna be a very, very tough battle, it feels like here. And again, this is the last chance for the Salamanders. 1 minute is what they have to work out with here on their attack. And then they have to full hold for 2 minutes. So at the very least, they need 1 tick. And then they need to full hold. It's got to be clinical. It's got to be precise, and it's got to be perfect. Or Monarch take this in a 3-0 fashion.
Listen, looking at the scoreline, it's definitely not reflecting how close these games have been.
For sure.
Assault was tight. Control, very back and forth, leaning a little bit more to Monarch 5 Knights. But this hybrid game is definitely a game of mental endurance almost, because there's so much happening and it's happening the whole time. And you just need to stay awake, and you need to stay alert and know what your problems are at every moment.
All right, Blur's in it to win it. Already a ton of chip damage to come through. Great synergy between the 2 tanks here. They've gone for a 3-tank setup. They want to be beefy, and it does work out. Trizzle getting a couple of kills for himself. Blur helping that out massively. And this was kind of what we were expecting from Pink Salamanders early on. Jesse now doesn't want to get staggered out, tries to get something, does actually manage to build up that pulse bomb. Could be a big game changer in the fights to come. But the Salamanders, not just 1 tick, they cap, and the payload will roll.
Yeah, this is now a problem for Monarch because, like I said, there are 2 mountains, and one of them have been climbed. So how do you reliably do that on your attack? Because now it's a case of, okay, we got to stop them, and then we have to do the exact same thing. Salamanders deleted the Monarch tanks. Like, they just disappeared, removed from the game. And, oh my days, what a massive shatter.
Waits for Stalker to charge in, and when the entirety of the enemy team is unprotected, the hammer down, the Fire Strike to follow it up. Yes, Smiley's good for 2, but realistically, how much is that going to get done as we follow up with the Graviton Surge? It is disgusting, and salamanders continue to roll along the streets.
A little bit of a victory jump there for Blur, but the streets phase is just, it's so tough to defend, which is why it's hard to choose, right? Do you go in, do you invest ultimates in the streets phase, or do you just thug it out, hold on, and then try to stop them just before the end of B? We've lost
Big fire
Blur.
strike there that gets a kill. Now Blur's already down. Blame it. It's okay. Tox is playing hide and seek. Production showed that to us. We know it's coming. We know it's gonna happen. Tox in for the res. Only gets 3 of the 4, but will it be enough? Tox himself gets taken out. No, the Graviton Surge. They knew the res was coming. Smiley gets Stalker back up in the game. The beat to keep the rest of the team alive. What a turnaround from Knights in that fight. Beautifully done. They stopped that payload before it can hit the first checkpoint.
I think somebody could smell the res in the air and they were like, guys, let's hold off on this. Because, yeah, they did the thing, they deleted them, but they also had more in the tank. Like, Jesse was sitting on his Death Blossom. Wallace was sitting on that beat. And then the res came out, and then only they started investing more. Really, really smart play for Monarchs there at the end. And Salamander's now having to defend. Monarchs have a little bit more time to play with, so they can kind of tank a fight. Obviously, they won't want to, because the more time you have, the easier the streets phase is going to be. But, you know, they don't even have to cap the final point of B. They just have to get it there. And streets phase, what are you going to do? How are you going to defend that? It's in every time we've seen King's Row, streets phase has gone by in a blink. The real contenders for defending would be A and C. So we're going to have to see what Salamanders can do on this A point, how they can get rid of this Monarch aggression.
As I always like to say, with great skill and determination.
Maybe even a dream and a prayer.
Yeah, you know, see if they can make that come to fruition. Now, Monarch have to match and beat, but they've got that little bit more time to work with here. So Salamanders have to be perfectly on point already. Trizzle down to dangerously low HP. The fire strike from Stalker straight through the shield takes Trizzle off the board. Stalker himself gets taken out as well. Now we've got a high charge Zarya. It's a Zarya v Zarya battle. No one can stay alive. Tox can't keep his team alive. Trigger, I think, killed himself with the cannon there. Bit of a rough one, but that's going to be Monarch capping that point in just as quick a fashion as we saw from the Salamanders.
So we definitely have the same pace from Monarch that Pink Salamanders had. And now it's really about, can they stop them on this streets phase? How do you try and do this? Because now it's Pink Salamanders with the mountain.
Oh,
but that's a massive shatter.
Shatters. The shatters have been so big, bro.
Oh,
there you
my
go. Tox again, the 4-person res, but Tox himself is taken off the board now. The regress from the Pink Salamanders is quite big. However, they've managed to coordinate quite nicely. The Earth Shatter comes through. Blaine is going to be taken off the board, and the res gets the absolute massive results that they wanted. They should be able to... No, they're just going to have to back out. That's crazy. How did they still lose that fight?
I don't think they lost it. I just think because they lost people and because the spawn is so far away, they have to step back and reaggress as
res.
6.
And they lit up the kill feed. It's crazy.
People died. That's the problem. I don't think the res was the problem. I just think that because people died, because people weren't, you know, it wasn't a full 6. But Monarch doing another quick cleanup. I just don't know how they charged the shatter so quickly.
You know what? Those fire strikes, you damage boost a fire strike, you can get some serious charge off the back of that. But now, last chance saloon here. They don't even have to hit the checkpoint. They just have to get it that little bit further. The Salamanders with only 2 ultimates online currently. We're close to more. Graviton Surge could be a difference maker. And there it is. Grav is out. It only gets 1. So it's not going to get the full value. Unfortunately, Trizzle, I don't know where Trizzle went, but he's gone. And Monarch will continue to clean up. No one left to touch. No one left to contest. That has to be something magical, and it's just not going to happen. The 3-mapper comes to fruition. No 5-map series for us as Monarch in a dominant 3-0 fashion are your ACGL Overwatch Community Classic Cup champions.
I love this highlight intro.
That's very good, to be fair.
Yeah,
I told you, play the game. I knew.
You fully called it. But that last fight, right? The Monarch overextension into their backline while they're getting pushed, and then the grab only catches the Cassidy. That is genius. They knew the grab was coming. They completely outplayed it, played split. 5 people stayed alive, and then they could re-aggress. And the pen coming in as well, getting rid of that Zarya really quickly. That was just... yeah, that was such a heads-up play from Monarch X5 Knights. It was really brilliant. Yeah, I really can't say more. That was just... whoever called that, shout out your in-game leader, man. That was amazing.
Yeah, honestly, this has been a ton of fun. Obviously, that's going to be kind of the end of the matches for today. It was a pretty grueling day, I feel like, particularly for our teams in our grand final, but it was a ton of fun. It was great to kind of relive the Overwatch glory days for those of us that, you know, grew up on those streets. And for those who were visiting for the first time, I hope you enjoyed your stay, and I hope you appreciate the changes, some of the changes that came in Overwatch 2. But here, once again, is your bracket. Ethereal Ducklings actually managed to win out in 3rd place, so they will be your 3rd place winners in that one. So there you go. Your team, they did the do. You know, they managed to achieve something there.
Let's go, my squad.
Hell yeah, your goats. Not my goats. My goats is 3 tanks, 3 supports, but you know.
Oh right, yes. My goats is just Ethereal Ducklings playing the video game.
But yeah, that's kind of wrapping it up here for the ACGL Overwatch Community Classic Cup. So, Lixodian, any last thoughts from you before we send it home?
I can't wait to go play Overwatch 2, Lucio. Thank you very much.
Fair enough, fair enough. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, whether you were in Twitch or in YouTube. Thank you to all the teams that participated. An 8-team turnout is fantastic. And of course, that's a 250 Rand prize that will be headed over to the Monarch 5 Knights team. Thank you, Peach, for making sure that we were able to run a production for this, that everyone got to actually watch these games. There's a lot of dedication there in the background. And of course, thank you to the Kalza admins who work so tirelessly to, you know, make this community as wonderful as it is. You guys are fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully, we will have another tournament for you all soon. Keep your eyes and ears on our socials. And until then, thank you once again, and we'll see you soon.
Cheerio.